One of the most fun times of the year in the profession of a film critic are the summer movie-going months. Watching intellectual cinema 24/7 can be an exhausting pastime. Although these movies might be worthwhile or quote-unquote good in any sense of the word, there are times in this profession where even the most grizzled critics out there just need to sit down and watch a movie that has nothing else on its mind other than mindless entertainment. And that's why the summer movie-going season is so much fun. Every year without fail, theaters are packed to the brim with tons of blockbuster releases of both the big budget and small budget variety. Audiences everywhere flock to movie theaters, most likely to escape the heat outside, and they're treated to pure and unbridled filmmaking of the action-packed variety. You see, sometimes the right film might not be intellectually or thematically complex, not to mention worthwhile art in any sense of the word, but it succeeds in the task of being a fun rollercoaster ride from start to finish, as nothing else is an end goal outside of pure audience entertainment. And with the summer movie-going season beginning this week, perhaps there's no finer example of this, not to mention the first release of the season, than the new action thriller Fight or Flight, which hits theaters in the US this weekend. Now, Fight or Flight is not going to be a traditional blockbuster like you might expect during this time of year. It's quite a small film, with the indie distributor Vertical picking it up for a release this weekend, and quite a confined ad campaign for a summer release, which is kind of crazy to me. In fact, I'd only seen about one trailer for the film before heading into my screening last night, but it was enough to get me there. I mean, the premise itself was more than intriguing for even the most cynical audience members out there. Josh Hartnett stars as a mercenary hired by a company to track down a valuable target, who is boarding a 16-hour long-haul flight from Bangkok to San Francisco. While on board the plane and in the air, he begins to realize that not everything is as it seems, as there are tons of other mercenaries and assassins on the plane who are seeking to collect the bounty on the target, and perhaps some other collateral damage as well. And so begins the bloodshed and chaos on full display during Fight or Flight. The film wastes very little of its hour and 37-minute runtime devoting any semblance of depth to characterization or thematic nuance. Instead, audiences are thrust straight into the action, which is unrelenting, profane, and above all, bloody. And when I say bloody, I do mean bloody in every sense of the word. This is perhaps one of the most chaotic and cutthroat action films to release inside theaters in some time. The unrelenting stream of blood and gore that splatters onto both the environment and camera at key points throughout is not only shocking, but effectively jarring as well. As the film goes on, the violence begins to get more and more over the top, building to a peak, leaving audiences wondering just how far the content of this is willing to go. And oh, it goes far. The action choreography further intensifies the bloodshed, with kinetic camera movements framing quick and fluid motions between characters and moments of perfect synchronization. The stunt work here is not only impressive given the context of the film, but also uses the limited space provided by the aircraft setting for fun moments of claustrophobic tension and unease. One of the problems with most modern-day action thrillers is how the threats might be present and prevalent, but characters always have somewhere they can run to, it seems. But here, this is not the case in the slightest. Just as Josh Hartnett's character Lucas experiences as he discovers how surrounded he truly is at 35,000 feet, audiences feel that same trapped feeling of claustrophobia to great effect. The close quarters combat is further intensified with camera work that simulates the movement of an aircraft, further adding and creating an immersive and almost nauseating experiences for audiences that throws them straight into the thick of the action. Josh Hartnett does incredible work here as Lucas, the mercenary hired to take out the target on the plane. As a huge fan of his career, it's been fascinating to watch the roles that Hartnett chooses to take recently, as he consistently delivers in every single regard with every one of his projects. And here that's clearly the case as well. Hartnett truly makes the film what it is, and it shines with ease, delivering effortless chemistry and charisma with a grounded action hero feel that never feels derivative in characterization nor dull or uninspired in execution. I mean, it also helps that he's surrounded by a great supporting cast, including Charitha Chandran as Isha, a flight attendant drawn into the thick of these circumstances against her will, and Katie Sackhoff and Julian Kostov as the informants employing Lucas to complete the job for them. The film expertly sets up different reveals and twists throughout to immense payoff effect, particularly within the third act of the film. One of the most fun elements of this film is about how you never truly know who to trust at any given moment. The characters are portrayed in such a way where their unreliability adds an element of mystery and intrigue to each action they complete, in which audiences are once again immersed into the events of the story by keeping them on their toes and consistently guessing and engaged from start to finish. Alas, though, perhaps in this way it also reveals one of the film's many shortcomings. While the twists and reveals here on display are definitely effective at key points throughout, there are a fair few here that feel quite distracting and poorly paced overall for what the film is trying to achieve. My reaction to one of these many twists changed from, wow, that was an incredible setup for a reveal, to, did we really need that twist in the first place, with equal measure? And perhaps one of the biggest shortcomings with this film overall is how it tries to do too much with way too little. You see, this film doesn't want to just entertain audiences, it also wants to impart a complex and nuanced thematic angle with which it can explore the blood-soaked action surroundings with some air of substance. However, the main reason this angle doesn't work here is because it's not that type of movie. The film's action is interrupted at several key moments throughout so that characters can deliver heavy-handed thematic exposition about child labor, which is surprisingly a major theme of this film. And the movie definitely has its head and heart in the right place in this regard. The way the film tries to juxtapose this thematic angle with the events coinciding inside of the narrative film is innovative and fresh in premise, but it comes across as somewhat awkward and jarring when the film's over-the-top atmosphere and action is interrupted with a serious condemnation on real-world events. Ultimately, the film doesn't need this angle to succeed as a fun and violent romp. However, at times, the film feels like it desperately wants to be taken seriously in this regard, which is hard to do when you've witnessed several key moments in this movie up to that point. In addition, the film also tries to set up a weak attempt at an antagonist reveal within the third act that feels incredibly shoehorned in to an insane degree and distracts from the main plotline overall, interrupting the breakneck pacing and instilling audiences with an awkward twist that doesn't feel entirely earned or appreciated. And the writing itself within the film script isn't a strong point either. I mean, this isn't a film aiming for a Shakespearean level script. We have to sit through moments of clunky dialogue and awkward intonation, as well as jokes that don't entirely land and heavy exposition moments that almost feel over-explained in every sense of the word. And the plot itself also isn't anything to write home about. In fact, the setup here is almost identical to 2022's Bullet Train starring Brad Pitt. In that film, a blonde-haired assassin played by Brad Pitt boarded a bullet train only to face other assassins. And if that sounds at all similar to the plot here, you'd be right. However, the reason Fight or Flight succeeds as a standalone film is how it takes the formulaic and often derivative premise that feels plucked from another movie entirely, executes it with its own unique spin, helped immensely by Josh Hartnett's borderline psychotic performance here. However, while the plot might largely lean into fun territory for the most of the runtime, it's apparent and clear that delivering a well thought out or complex narrative tale here is not at the forefront of the film's attention, as the lack of apparent structure and the variety of plot holes you'll have to get through indicate as much. However, to not recommend Fight or Flight based on its merit of its entertainment value alone would be foolish. Simply put, this is way too fun not to recommend. Seeing this in theaters was an absolute blast, and this is the escape we all need to start the summer movie-going season off right. This is the type of independent and smaller scale filmmaking I love to see and champion, as it shows so much passion and talent from all involved, which is clear and apparent especially on the big screen. Much like Josh Hartnett's character Lucas experiences as he takes a shot of pure adrenaline to start off the third act, your heart will race, you won't be able to look away from the screen, and you'll find yourself effortlessly entertained and breathless by the time the end credits start to roll. That's why I'm giving Fight or Flight a 3.5 out of 5 stars. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this review on my channel. If you're new around here and you like the content you see, don't forget to click that subscribe button down below, like the video, and turn on push notifications. Also, leave comment suggestions down below for future video, essay, and review topics. With that being said, until next time, this is Mitchell signing off. Peace out.